Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back once again to my channel. My name is Kenneth Hawk. In today's lesson, we are going to talk about IPv4, subnetting, route, and reverse engineering. These four topics is not going to be in one video, but it's going to be in like 2, 3, or 4 videos, depending on the information that I'm going to give. So now, let's start with the IPv4. We've talked about IPv4 in previous videos. IPv4, that is Internet Protocol version 4. We've talked about it in various videos. That was a previous video which I talked about IP addresses. Now, IPv4 is a 32-bit, that is a 32-bit addressing system. This is a 32-bit. Now, example like 192.168.11.1. This is a 32-bit address system. When it's being converted into binary, we have something like 0001111. Please, I'm not converting it into binary, I'm just writing something. And 0012345678. This is 8. Then there is a dot, there is another something like another 8 here, something of that sort. Dot 11111567 another dot, then another one will follow, maybe 00001111, another 8. So this 8 sorry 8 bit times 4, which is going to give you 32-bit. That is it. So this is a 32-bit addressing scheme which we use. Now, the IP address, also, as I indicated earlier on, is the addressing scheme of a system that helps the system to communicate and also send packets, receive packets, and stuffs like that. That is it. Now we also have another version which is the IPv6. That is the IPv version 6. That is the Internet Protocol version 6. But which we are not going to talk about in this video. We are concentrating more on the IPv version 4. Now, in the last video, I did talk about the history concerning IPv4, and I said it was introduced in the year 1981. I quite remember it was introduced in the year 19. Actually, it began in the year 1974. 1974. That was the year it began. Yeah, and the version 4, also the version 6. Sorry, the version 6 actually started in the year 1988. But the first major version of the IPv version 4 was in 1981. The version 6 is in 1998. The version 4 started in 1974, but the major version of the Internet Protocol version 4, was in the year 1981. So please just get it straight. So that is it. That is it for IPv version 4. Now, let us move on. So let me get an example ID here. So I'm going to use the same ID, 192.168.11.1, maybe slash 24. When you see, let me just go back. Go back. Okay, let me clean something. Then I'll say something like this. I'll use this one, slash 24. When you see something of this kind, slash 24, which means that 24 bit of this address is used as the network ID. Then the remaining, I'll say 8 bit is used for the host portion. Now, what is the host And what is the network ID? Let me, before even we talked about the host and the network ID, let us go back to class A, class B, and class C. Now, you know, an IP address that starts from the range of 1 to 126, 126 is always in the class A version. Class A. Now, 127 is always left out because this is used for what we call the loop back address. This is known as the loop back address. This is known as the loopback address. Now, when we get to class B is 19. Class B is not 19, sorry. Class B is 128. Yeah, I think so because 127 is loopback, 128 to 191, 191. That is class B. Class B. Now, class C. Class C is 192. That is 192 to 223. 223. Now, with this here, you'll be able to know the classes. I brought in this because I'm about to talk about what we know as the mask. I'm about to talk about this mask. You can see an ID like maybe 10 dots, 0 dots, 1 dots, maybe 5 slash 24. This is the mask. What is the mask? What is it? So that's what we are going to talk about. But before we move into the mask, I want to clean the board and get a fresh screen. So please hold on. So as I said, we are talking about the mask, and what the mask does is really simple. It simply identifies where the network portion stops and where the host, I mean, the host portion or the host ID starts. For example, I have this 192 dot 168 dot 1 dot 102. Now you can see, let me just change my color and choose blue. You can see here, this is a class C. This is a class C IP address. Now with this, you can see that this part here is known as the network network no, not the network, sorry, that is not true, that is not true, please. I made a mistake. This is actually the network ID. This is known as the host. I'll say, I will not use the word host number, but I'll say number of hosts, or the host. Okay, let me use the host number, but people will refer it as the number of hosts. So this is the number of hosts. When I talk about host, I simply means it simply means the number of computers you can, I mean, give that IP address to. So now this portion here, this portion here, which happens to be, I mean, the long one, is for what we call the network ID. Now, I indicated earlier on that when you have an IP address like that, assuming with what I have on the screen 192 168.1.102, maybe slash 24. What I'm trying to tell you is that the first 24 bit is for the network ID, then the remaining 8 is for the host ID. I hope you get it. The first 24 bits is for the network ID, and the last 8 bit is for the host ID. Now, let me explain what we mean by network ID and the host. I think the host ID I've been able to explain. Now, let me do that with an example. So I have these nodes. These are, I would say, these are computers. These are computers. All these are computers. Maybe they are connected together. These computers are connected together. They want to share resources together. They should be on the same network. Get this thing straight. They should be on the same network. So assuming I'm using a class C IP address, so I'll say maybe 192.168.100. The first 24 or the first 3 octets is for the network ID. In class A, the network ID is only maybe 10.0.0. The first octet here in class A is for network IDs. Now in class B, maybe I'll say 128.165.0.0. In class B, the first 2 is for network ID. So get that one straight. The first 2 is for network ID. In class C, the first 3 is for network ID. So if you want more hosts, you want to, get more computers, I think class A is good. Class B is also good. Class C will give you only 200 to 254. The last one is used as a broadcast. So this class C will give you up to 254 hosts. So if you are running on a class C IP address, you'll be able to connect 254 computers. But when it comes to class B, it's more than that. Class A is more than that. We are not going into that aspect, but I just want you to know the classes when I talk about network ID and stuff like that. And depending on the classes in which you are working at, that will determine where your network ID is. So that is what I'm saying. Your network ID in class A is always the first octet. In class B is the first 2 octet. In class C is the first 3 octet. And your host ID in class A are the last 3 octet, in class B the last 2, and in class C the last octet. So that is it. So I think I've been able to explain this part to you, and it's really, really, really informative. So now let us move on. We're talking about the slash 24 and stuff like that. Someone will ask, why is there a slash 24 and you are saying the 24 bit is for host network ID and whatever. Now I indicated that this here, when it's being converted into binary, has 8 bits. This has 8 bits. This also has 8 bits. This also has 8 bits. So you see it, 8 bits and another 8 bits. But 888, and I said the first 24, is used for the network, and the last one is used for the host ID. Now back to my example that I was talking about. So if these computers want to connect, they need to be on the same network. So if I want to give an IP address to computer A here, computer A, assuming I'm running in a class C, let us just maintain the class C. Let me clean the board and get a nice screen. Now the board is clean. So let me just, so as I was saying, I think I need to get a Cisco packet tracer to explain it better for your understanding. So now let us launch our Cisco packet tracer. Now I would like to close this, then get no, I would like to close it. Okay, now the Cisco packet tracer is launched. So with the example that I did, let us get some computers onto the screen. So I have this computer, I have this. Let me get some 5 computers here. So now I want to connect all these computers together for them to share resources. That is what I want to do. So I would like to arrange them, I mean, in a nice way. So I think let me add one to it. Then let me get a switch. Let me get a switch, a switch, a switch, a switch. Just get a switch here. Now let me connect them together. This is going to be a straight through cable, so don't worry. So let me just connect them. Okay, now I have this diagram right here. So I have this diagram right here. Now, with the example that I just did, we are going to configure this. I mean, so let us use the IP address. So let us use this IP address. I think we are going to use 192.168 dot I think 100.0. Now the 0 here means starting from 1, starting from 1 to 254 will be the IP address that I can give to my network. So let us move on and see what we have. So I'm trying to explain the network ID thing. So let me open the first one and go to config. Right now, you can see it. I mean, connected. You can see that it is connected green, but you can't share resources because when you come to config and you see this side, you see that there is no IP address. There is nothing. There is no IP address. When here you see there's no IP address here. There's no subnet mask, and that makes it very difficult for you to, I mean, communicate to the other ones. So if I want to pin something, I don't even know the IP address of those computers that I can pin. But let me try something. Let me first of all give an IP address. So let me give this one as number 10. So I'll say, let me check the number I gave. So it was 192.168.100. So I'm going to give, I have 6 computers. I'm going to start with 5, 10, 15, 20, I think 25, and I think 30. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. So starting from 5. So that is going to be my range. 5, 5. Let me just come here and then see, there's no DHCP. If you choose DHCP, that means you don't have access to input your IP address. See, it has given a DHCP. See, right now, it gave it a DHCP, but I don't want to choose DHCP. We'll get to DHCP very soon, but let us talk about the static. So I want to configure my, I mean, IP addresses. So let me start by saying 192.168.100.5. then to give me a subnet mask of 255.255.255.0. You see, this is the subnet mask for IP versions. No IP version, that is class C. In class B, you see 255.255.0.0. In class A, you see only 255.0.0.0. So please note, in class A, it is 255.0.0.0. In class B, it is 255.255.0.0. In class C, it is 255.255.255.0. That is the mask, the subnet mask. So I've given you the subnet mask for A, B, C. There is one thing I want you to know. Please, as someone who is learning networking and configuration stuffs, just focus on the three classes, the A, B, C. Don't think about the ED. Don't think about that one. Think about the ABC. That should be your focus. That should be, your burden. So now I have been able to give an IP address to this network. Let me just close it and try to look at this one and config. But before I do the configuration, let me see. I wanted to see the DHCP. What is going to give it? I wanted to see. See, this is a class B. So you see 255.255.255.0.0. That is a class B. And if I want to pin this, let me show you something. Desktop, and I want to pin pin 192.168.100.5. Let's pin and see what happens. Nothing will come. You see, request timed out, request timed out, because they are not on the same network. This is on a different network and that's on a different network. On a different subnet is also on a different subnet. They are not on the same network. So now, this is what we are going to do. We will need to put this on the same network. So let me just go to config, choose the static, then give it 192.16, sorry, 168.100.10. Then I'll just go to desktop. Then I'm going to pin it again and see what happens. Voila. There you go. Now you see it's working. Reply from .5 is working because now they are on the same network. So we can just close this and try to configure this. So I'm going to configure all of them. Then after that, I think we move on. So let me just pause it. When I'm done, I'll come back. So now, welcome back. Everything is done, and let's see. So we want to, send a packet from this side to the other side. So in the last video, I showed you how to do it. So let us pick this one. I want it to go to this first. So let me use simulation, then hit it. But I need to set I want to use it as a pin. No problem. So let me just see. This is not a pin, but don't worry. Show none. Edit field. I'll say ICMP. Then I'll just try and see what happens here. And that is another one. So you see, correct, it's working, and it worked because they are on the same network. So now you get it. I hope everything is sinking in well. So that is the network ID that I'm talking about. So with Class C, that is the network. So the network actually determine, I would say, where or which umbrella the computers under. That is, it determines which umbrella the computers are under. And the host tells you the number of computers, systems, machines, servers. So we use the word nodes, or the number of devices that can be connected to, I mean, the IP address or the network. So that is it. We've been able to talk about this, blah blah blah. We talk about the mask. Now let us talk about the mask, and I think that will be it. I think class A IP address, which is 1 2. Let me just try and see if I can take this off. I'll say class A, which is 1 2 1 2 6, has a slash notation of 8 bits, and 1282191 has a slash notation of 16, and 192, we all know, to 223 has a slash notation of 24. Now I said, using this, I said the 24 is the network what? These are the network IDs. So you see the slash notations, the 16 bits are what? The network IDs. So there you have it. So we've been able to talk about the network IDs, the subnet, and then I can network IDs. Don't forget about my handwriting. So the slash notation, these are the network IDs, and I think that will do for this video. We've been able to talk about one or two things, but now let us see something. As I said, what the mask, I repeat, what the mask does is really simply identifies where the network portion starts and where the host portion also, then I'm getting it wrong, meaning where the network portion stops and where the host portion starts. That is it. And for example, I just wrote something on the board, and I told you what is the network ID and what is the number of hosts. That is the host number. And the way it does that is, it represents how many bits are being used by the network, which I told you that for class A, 8 bits are used for the network, class B, 16 bits, and class C is 24 bits are used for the network. So, the slash 24, which you have it on your screen, means that the first 24 bits are network IDs, and the remaining 8 bits represent the host addressing on the network. So I think that will do for the day. Thanks for watching. Stay blessed. Love you all. Bye for now.